Small victories rely on wisdom, big victories rely on virtue is a very philosophical saying from the Wei and Jin dynasties in China, 220 to 420 AD. Since the founding of the Han dynasty, Emperor Guangwen Lu Yuan rarely led troops to fight and his leadership ability was questioned. But the obvious fact is that the Han dynasty was able to gain a foothold in the Central Plains region not by relying on force, but because Lu Yuan accepted Chinese culture and promoted the Confucian moral spirit of loyalty, filial piety, benevolence, and righteousness to govern the Han dynasty. Lu Yuan's policy changed the past barbaric impression of the Han people in the Central Plains towards the Xiongnu soldiers who burned, killed, and looted. The friendly attitude of the Han dynasty even caused some Han people to identify with the Han dynasty and participate in the struggle against the Western Jin dynasty. This is an unprecedented beginning in history. This is really the most precious intangible wealth left by Lu Yuan. If Lu Xong could inherit his father's ideas and strategies and take advantage of this good situation, he would definitely be able to fulfill his father's last wish and develop the Han dynasty into a great dynasty. During Lu Yuan's lifetime, Lu Xong led troops twice to attack the capital Luoyang of the Western Jin dynasty but was unsuccessful both times. Within 3 months of Lu Xong's ascension to the throne, he dispatched multiple generals to lead forces in clearing the armed forces and fortifications in the surrounding areas of the capital Luoyang, rendering it isolated and without support. At this point, Lu Xong's intentions were very apparent, and Luoyang became his primary target for a decisive strike. Despite the overall strength of the Western Jin dynasty's military, it was dispersed, making it challenging to assemble forces. Moreover, the Sima family completely ignored the immediate crisis, engrossed in internal conflicts and infighting. The following year, Lu Xong sent the vanguard general Hu Yanyan with 27,000 troops to attack Luoyang. Along the way, the vanguard forces defeated the resisting Jin forces 12 times, killing over 30,000 soldiers. Hu Yanyan, without waiting for the arrival of the reinforcements, entered Luoyang, burned several city gates, and withdrew. He also set fire to the boats intended for the escape of Jin Hui Emperor. Upon the arrival of the reinforcements, the combined forces launched another attack on Luoyang. They plundered, capturing palace residents and treasures from the Jin palace, while Lu Yao executed over 30,000 officials and members of the royal family. Jin Hui Emperor was captured on his way to Chang'an, and he, along with other officials and nobles, was later transported to the capital of the Han dynasty, Pingyang. This marked the historical event known as the Disorder of Yongjia. In his early years, when Lu Xong traveled to Luoyang with his father, he visited Sima Qi, who was then titled as the Prince of Yuzhong, along with his good friend Wang Ji. They had a good relationship. Lu Xong also received valuable gifts, including a fine bow and an inkstone, from the Prince of Yuzhong, and the memories were still fresh. Now, the roles between them have reversed. One day, Lu Xong summoned Sima Qi to the palace, and as they drank together, they reminisced about the past. At a moment when the atmosphere was lively, Lu Xong suddenly threw out a question. During the War of the Eight Princes, why did your family experience internal conflicts so intensely? Faced with such a sensitive question, Sima Qi was momentarily unsure how to respond. Then, wearing a somewhat ashamed expression, he slowly replied, "Perhaps it's not a matter of human actions, but rather the will of heaven? Because the great Han dynasty is destined by heaven, calamities were sent down from above to make the princes of our Sima dynasty turn against each other, clearing obstacles for the great Han dynasty." Then Sima Qi continued, "If my family can uphold the legacy of Emperor Wu, with each family living in harmony and mutual assistance, how else can your majesty gain the support of the realm?" After hearing these words, Lu Xong found them deeply resonant and held Sima Qi in high esteem. When Sima Qi departed, in addition to his joy, Lu Xong specially bestowed his beloved concubine, Lady Xiao Lu, to him as a wife. However, Lu Xong's emotions were unpredictable and volatile. A year later, the situation on the front lines of the great Han dynasty took a turn for the worse, with the Han forces suffering a fierce counterattack from the renowned Western Jin generals Lu Kuan and the Xianbei people, resulting in a retreat. Lu Xong's mood worsened significantly, and he vented his anger on the deposed emperor of the Western Jin. In a banquet, he even had Sima Qi, dressed in servant's attire, serve and pour wine for the court officials. This act left the former officials of the Jin dynasty present feeling humiliated, leading to uncontrollable weeping. Witnessing this, Lu Tsong became even more furious and, in a cruel turn of events, killed Sima Qi and over 10 former officials of the Jin dynasty. His beloved concubine, Lady Xiaolu, also returned to Lu Tsong's side. Emperor Taizong of the Tang dynasty, Li Shimin, once asked his ministers which was more difficult, gaining political power or preserving it. His favored minister, Wei Zheng, replied, "Throughout history, emperors have always faced challenges to obtain political power, but they often lose it due to excessive indulgence. Therefore, gaining political power is difficult, but preserving it is even more challenging." After Lu Tsong ascended to the throne, he no longer personally led troops into battle, nor did he have the inclination to sit in court daily to handle political affairs. He enjoyed going on excursions, engaging in hunting and fishing. Accompanied by a large entourage of attendants and palace ladies, he would camp outdoors, reveling in joy and losing track of time within the palace. Empress Dowager Shan, young, beautiful, and charming, was Lu Tsong's stepmother. Lu Tsong developed an ambiguous relationship with her, in accordance with Xiongnu customs but considered incestuous within Han Chinese traditional morality. As a result, Lu Yi advised his mother, leading to Empress Dowager Shan feeling ashamed and eventually passing away. In the year 313 AD, in the third month, Lu Tsong named Lu Yi as the empress and specially constructed a magnificent palace for her. However, faced with strong opposition from the minister Qin Yuanda, a loyalist left by the late Emperor Lu Yuan, who was a highly Sinicized Xiongnu noble, Lu Tsong flew into a rage and ordered the execution of Qin Yuanda and his family. Little did he know that Qin Yuanda had prepared to offer advice at the cost of his life. He chained himself to a tree and continued to loudly remonstrate. Upon learning of this matter, Empress Lu Yi urgently wrote a small note and had a palace maid deliver it to the enraged Lu Tsong, advising him not to mistakenly kill the loyal advisor. Building grand palaces imposes hardship on the people and depletes finances, and Qin Yuanda's words are words of loyalty. "If you kill the advisor, because of constructing this palace for me, the people will surely direct all their anger towards me, and what will be the consequence? I often lament that since ancient times, the downfall of families and nations often begins with women. Therefore, I implore you not to kill Qin Yuanda. If you are truly enraged, please grant me death instead." Lu Yi, being of Han ethnicity, was intelligent from a young age, received Confucian education, and naturally displayed filial piety and affection. She was beautiful and talented, and if Lu Tsong acted unreasonably, Lu Yi would counsel him to correct his actions. Lu Tsong had great affection for her. After seeing Lu Yi's note, Lu Tsong's expression changed, and his attitude became more gentle. He addressed his subordinates, saying, "Recently, I've been afflicted with a mental illness, causing erratic emotions. Qin Yuanda is a loyal minister, and I deeply regret my actions towards him." He showed Lu Yi's note to Qin Yuanda and said, "Outside the palace, there are people like you assisting me, and inside the palace, there are people like the empress assisting me. I have nothing to worry about." He then smiled at Qin Yuanda and said, "Originally, you should fear me, but why is it now that I am the one fearing you?" He ordered the renaming of the palace garden to Garden of the Sage and the rear hall to Sage Memorial Hall. This was one of the rare wise decisions made by Lu Tsong during his reign as emperor.